Around 4,000 years ago, in the kingdom in the ancient Mesopotamia, there was the guy named Arkad, who was poor like he could barely put a food on the table. To escape poverty, he worked hard. However, when he received the payment for his services, he lived very frugally and lent most of his incomes to a shared market, who then paid interest on the loan. Instead of spending that interest to move to a bigger place, he kept living frugally and lent that interest to another shared market, thus growing his wealth even more. After repeating this process for years, his wealth grew so big that he did not have to work again since his money was working for him. So he ended up on the richest man in Babylon. Of course, you can't lend money to a shield market because the shield market probably has a credit card or would rather go to the bank that look for you. But that story illustrates the power of the passive incomes. Nothing is more powerful than when your money makes money for you. It saves your time, effort, and provides you with the financial support to pay all your bills. But very few people achieve that milestones where their money works for them, and not the other way around. Chasing money is not the bad idea, but chasing money your entire life isn't also the great idea because you need time for other things in your life. That's why I try to my best to create as many sources of income as possible, but most importantly, makes them as efficient as possible. The most famous passive income source is rental income. You have a property that's rented out, and the tenant keeps sending you a check every month. Since real estate is not cheap, that check could be big enough to pay all your bills. But what if you don't have the money to buy the real estate? Of course, you don't need hundreds of thousands of dollars to pay a property. All that you need is enough for the down payment. The rest will be covered by your tenant. Even if the property doesn't generate incomes in the first year or so, it will in the future. Once rent price rise year after year, but real estate isn't the only place where you can build passive incomes in the 21st century. There are far more tools that most people know. So in this video, I want to share with you some real passive incomes idea that you can implement right now. And most importantly, you don't need a lot of the money to start. Vending machines. When we talk about the passive incomes, we never mentioned vending machines because they don't sound as exciting as the real estates, for example. But if you think about it, it's that kind of the assets that provides the constant stream of income and requires minimum effort if you are automated. There were 5 million vending machines in the US in 2015. These 5 million vending machines produce an average of the 20 billion in the sales each year. But most vending machines earn around $5 a week because it's not an easy business like any other businesses. Even if your property is placed in a bad neighborhood, it will probably turn into the liability. But well-placed vending machines can earn far more than that, potentially exceeding $100 per week or even $100 per day. The challenge is to pick the right places to sell the right products. If your place is somewhere where there aren't many people, it is going to be one of those machines that earn $5 a week. But if it's the heavy visible locations where it will regularly attract buyers, that's where when you can expect a few $100 from it every week. It requires a lot of work in the beginning, but minimum management later. It's that the meaning of the passive incomes. Before getting into this space, I highly recommend everyone to study it further because you have to understand what kind of the products sells the best, what vending machines turn the highest profits, and what type of the locations attracts more buyers. Second, and number two, we have a print-on-demand business. 10 years ago, the business was impossible. It's just because the mainstream recently, so it still has a lot of the room to grow. Some businesses are so old that it's nearly impossible to get in and succeed because they are so crowded. But that's not the case with the print-on-demand businesses. The global market for the custom T-shirts print industry is exceeded to cross 10 billion USD by 2025. T-shirts are cheap to source, have on universal appeal, and are relatively simple to customize. But it's the competitive field since there aren't many barriers to entry. If you want to compete with Tesla, you need tens of billions of dollars to build electric cars. But if you want to start selling in-demand t-shirts, you need nothing except a good idea because there's multiple platforms to take care of everything extends from the delivery to maintain. Your job is to design and sell. Whenever I see someone wearing these t-shirts with something cool written on it, I want one as well. So if you have the good taste, you can spend some time designing cool t-shirts on Teespring, Printful, or any other platform, and run some ads. If your people find your design desirable, you will turn it into the passive incomes where you can keep selling your shirts with minimum effort. You can come up with the new design every 3-4 months to sell another t-shirts to your existence clients. REITs or real estate investment trusts. REITs are popular among investors who want to invest in the real estate but don't want to deal with management. Of course, renting a property is great, but it requires some management. So there are limits. That there are firms such as the American Towers or Brandywine Realty trusts that invest in the office buildings. For example, in the Philadelphia, Washington D.C., and Austria, REITs are traded in the stocks market like any other company, but usually they often much higher divided rate. For example, Brandywine Realty Trust offers a 5.5% dividend rate. It's that is incredibly high, but you have to understand that their stock price doesn't increase much. Most of the money they are going to make is from the dividends. There are a lot of the different rates. Some of them invest in the commercial properties, others in the residential areas. Some just own the land across the country, and so on. The highest dividends yield is what makes them a good passive income candidate. But be careful with them because if they invest in the wrong rates, you might lose your interest and at some cost of the high dividends. So pay attention to how the trust has been performing over the years. Rent a room in Airbnb. If you have the extra room in your house that you don't use much, rent it on Airbnb is the way to go. With Airbnb, you will most likely to rent at twice higher than the renting in the long-term basis. Of course, Airbnb means a lot of the maintenance because you need to clean the room, make sure that it owes the necessities before every new guest comes into the. Nevertheless, it's the great source of the income. And since your guest is going to stay in the next room, your guests won't ruin your room. Some people even take the mortgage and let Airbnb tenants pay off their mortgage. It's a great way to build wealth over time. Of course, with COVID, it has become much more difficult. But I have no doubt that things will get back to normal because we humans are socialized creatures. We can't just be isolated. We want to travel, we want to see new places, we want to move around. We have been doing that since the beginning of the human existence. Invest in the small businesses as the silent partner. When we talk about the starting the businesses, we usually mean starting the huge businesses, but there are plenty of the small businesses that could be very profitable, such as the corner shop or the barber shop. Of course, running the corner shop is the full-time job, but it could be turned into the passive incomes if you join the business as the silent partner. In businesses, there is the concept called silent partner, where you don't deal with day-to-day management of the businesses, but rather play more and advisory role. Their types of the businesses don't need the huge capital, and their businesses model is pretty simple. You don't have to be the genius to find on how to start a profitable corner shop. Just take a look at what others have done. You might got 50-50 with someone else who is going to run the businesses on the day-to-day basis and will get the fixed salary for it, but you are going to have the constant stream of income. But it's important to make sure your numbers work out on the paper at least before starting anything in this field, because it is the investments eventually. I didn't include the rational passive income source because we have talked about them in the previous video, but if you think about it, there are far more options that most people think about it at first thought. And now it's your turn to let me know what's your favorite passive income source. Let me know in the comments below. If you have enjoyed this video, you will most definitely enjoy the custom playlist that I have created specifically for you, that has our most popular videos on businesses, investing, and the stocks market that can potentially change your life. And now give this video the thumbs up that it deserves, and make sure you to subscribe if you haven't done that yet. Thanks for watching, and until next time.